about 6 or 7 states are going to determine the outcome of this election. There are toss-up states. This is one of them.
President Biden here in the West tonight, courting voters in 2 key battleground states. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to West Coast Wrap. I'm Alex Savage. The president spent the day campaigning in Nevada and Arizona, and this was Election Day in Arizona. We don't have results yet from Arizona's presidential nominating contest, but of course, Biden is already the presumptive Democratic nominee. The president started off the day crisscrossing Nevada, and he wrapped up with a stop in Phoenix. That's where his campaign launched an effort called Latinos con Biden. This is a coalition designed to reach Latino voters in the run-up to the November general election. President Biden wants to remind those voters about the work his administration is doing in the Latino community.
I want to remind folks, because we turned out in 2020, we achieved the lowest unemployment rate for Latinos in a long, long time. We cut Hispanic child poverty to record lows. We lowered the health care costs. We made historic investments in Latino small businesses, and we addressed gun violence in the communities.
President Biden will hold another campaign event in Arizona tomorrow, and then he will head off to Texas. The president kicked off his West Coast tour with 2 stops in Nevada. During visits to Reno and Las Vegas, the president focused on new proposals to make housing more affordable.
The bottom line to lower housing costs for good is to build, build, build. And that's why, with the help of your congressional delegation, I've cut red tape so more builders can get federal financing for the new projects. A record 1.7 million new housing units are under construction nationwide right now because of it.
And today, Nevada Governor Joe Lombardo sent a letter to the White House urging the president to approve the use of federal lands in Nevada for affordable housing developments. The governor has not yet said whether the White House has responded to that request. Former President Trump cast his ballot today in one of the states holding presidential nominating contests. The presumptive Republican nominee spoke today outside his polling location in Palm Beach, Florida, renewing his calls to shut down the southern border.
They have to close the borders. Our country is dying. Our country is being overridden. This is an invasion. We have to close the border. Let people come in, but they have to come in legally.
The U.S. Supreme Court today issued an important ruling on immigration. The High Court lifted a pause on controversial Texas law that gives local police broad powers to arrest migrants who are suspected of crossing the border illegally. That law makes it a state crime for migrants to cross into the country illegally and allows law enforcement to carry out deportations. The Biden administration sued, trying to strike down the law, arguing it's a clear violation of federal authority. In a divided opinion, the justices did not address whether the law is constitutional, but they allowed it to take effect while the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals reviews the measure once again.
Well, I think it'll create change, and it will act as a deterrent to illegal immigration. We're not against immigration. We're only against illegal immigration.
We have the interaction of federal immigration law with Texas now attempt to regulate immigration, we're going to see a lot of confusion and inconsistency.
The Fifth Circuit Court could potentially block the measure again, and either side can return to the Supreme Court once the appellate court acts. Law enforcement agencies along Arizona's southern border say a key tool to prevent opioids from being smuggled into this country is sitting on the sidelines. The state's attorney general says several checkpoints already have scanners that can x-ray vehicles and discover fentanyl, but those scanners aren't being used. She says she's disappointed the federal government isn't doing more with that technology.
They are non-intrusive. The cars can flow through the border. You don't have to have as much stoppage of the cars, so they see it in its packaging, they can tell, and then that car gets pulled over and all the other cars that don't have fentanyl in them don't.
The Attorney General, who is a Democrat, has suggested she could take legal action to force the federal government to do more to prevent opioids from coming across the border. Tonight, authorities near Seattle are investigating a tragic multi-car crash that left 4 people dead and 4 others injured. This happened just before 1 o'clock this afternoon in Renton. The King County Sheriff's Office says 4 cars were involved, and investigators believe speed may have been a factor in the crash. Firefighters declared this a mass casualty event with resources coming in from neighboring agencies.
Unfortunately, due to the complexity of this accident, we had some that we felt were red or critical patients that unfortunately died at the scene.
Of the 4 people left injured after that crash, 3 of them were taken to the hospital in critical condition. The 4th person suffered minor injuries. We turn now to a major agreement in California designed to lower emissions and invest in electric vehicle charging stations. Auto giant Stellantis, the maker of Chrysler, Dodge, and Jeep brands, has agreed to sign on to the state's strict vehicle emission standards with the goal of reducing emissions by up to 12 million metric tons. Stellantis will also agree to California's requirements to sell an increasing number of electric cars through the year 2030, even if the state is unable to enforce those requirements because of judicial or federal action.
This is about jobs. This is about economic growth. This is about dominating one of the next great economic sectors, not only in the United States, but globally. We don't want to cede that leadership. We want to embrace it.
Stellantis also agrees to invest in electric and other zero-emission vehicles and car charging infrastructure. Today was the last chance for people in California to weigh in on a plan by AT&T to discontinue landline telephone service across the state. State regulators held their final hearings on this proposal, which is getting a lot of pushback, especially from those who live in rural areas and rely on those landlines. As KTVU's Jesse Gary explains, many feel that losing their landlines would make them vulnerable during an emergency.
For over a century, a network of hardline phone wires has been a lifeline of communication for rural California communities.
Some people must avoid exposure to the radiation emitted by mobile phones.
Tuesday afternoon, dozens of callers logged into the California Public Utilities Commission website to sound off on a plan to end that type of service. Phone provider AT&T seeks permission from the PUC to end landline service for almost all Californians. Executives argue forcing the one-time monopoly to maintain so-called carrier of last resort status puts it at a competitive disadvantage. Some callers to the commission agree, saying AT&T and its customers should abandon the century-old technology.
For every dollar AT&T has to invest in this old network, that's $1 less that they can invest in the latest and greatest technology that all Californians deserve and we want.
There's a lot of folks out here that really want to modernize and move to the new technology, and we're hoping that we can see some improvement in that soon.
But many residents have expressed anger and apprehension at losing landline service.
I live in a rural area. There is one service of all the cell phone service providers out there that works at my home, and sometimes I have to walk to the top of the driveway to get service. Sometimes it just goes out.
Tracy Ryan is a senior policy analyst for the Rural County Representatives of California. She and others worry if AT&T's request is granted, the impact would be most severe in areas which frequently lose cell and internet service during winter storms, such as the Santa Cruz Mountains.
It's essential services. They need to be kept. Without the landline services for those people that need it, what are they going to do when there's an emergency? Are they going to use a CB?
Advocates say a viable alternative to either landline or cell service needs to be in place before any determination is made. Next month, an evidentiary hearing will be held where AT&T officials will try to prove the economic harm their company suffers because it's being held to an agreement from the early 20th century. A final ruling on all of this may not come until the fall. In downtown San Jose, Jesse Gary, KTVU, Fox 2 News.
Coming up tonight here on West Coast Wrap, a pregnant Arizona lawmaker reveals a deeply personal revelation on the floor of the state Senate, how her speech is meant to highlight efforts to bolster reproductive rights. Also, Hollywood honors a hip-hop icon. See who showed up today to celebrate Dr. Dre's star on the Walk of Fame.
And in weather, here's our live camera looking out toward the San Francisco Bay Area. We have mostly clear skies up above, but some other changes for parts of the West Coast, and we'll have the update coming up.
I'm telling you, man, drop the gun, please. Don't make me hurt you. I don't want to hurt you.
Newly released body camera video shows police officers in North Las Vegas trying to get an armed man to comply with their orders. Officers eventually opened fire here, killing 43-year-old Edward Brooks. The shooting happened last week as police responded to reports of gunfire at an apartment complex. Officers later searched several nearby units, and they found 3 women dead, along with a dog. A pregnant Arizona lawmaker is stepping into the debate over reproductive rights after giving a speech on the floor of the state Senate and revealing she plans to get an abortion.
I'm choosing abortion because I'm pregnant and for reasons that I should not have to explain to you or to the church or to the state of Arizona. I need to not be pregnant anymore. That's the best outcome for me.
In an emotional speech, State Senator Eva Birch said doctors have determined her pregnancy is not viable. She says she's making this public revelation in the hopes of highlighting how Arizona laws have interfered with her decision. One example she gave was a requirement that doctors inform her of adoption alternatives, knowing her pregnancy is not viable. She called that requirement cruel. The debate over reproductive rights in Arizona has been intensifying for months now. Anti-abortion activists held a rally outside the state capitol earlier this month. Arizona's Supreme Court is set to decide which of the state's conflicting abortion laws should stand. One of those laws from the 1860s calls for a near total ban on abortions. Another law allows the procedure up to 15 weeks. A petition is now circulating in the state to give voters a chance to enshrine abortion rights into Arizona's constitution. They have until July 4th to gather 384,000 valid signatures to put that issue on the November ballot. New allegations tonight against a Los Angeles woman who's already been found guilty in a deadly crash that killed 2 young boys. In a court filing, prosecutors accuse Rebecca Grossman of carrying out illegal conduct behind bars. They allege she's been trying to tamper with witnesses and influence the judge ahead of her sentencing. Prosecutors also say Grossman asked her daughter to try to get sealed body camera footage released to the public.
Here's somebody who's already facing, given her age, and 35 plus years of life sentence. So she doesn't have much to lose in a sense. But what they do want on the DA side is to preserve their verdict.
Prosecutors are asking for Grossman to be moved to an area of the jail with no access to phones or visitors other than her attorneys. Grossman was convicted last month of second-degree murder for that hit and run that killed 2 brothers, ages 8 and 11. A U.S. Navy sailor has pleaded not guilty to new charges of espionage in San Diego. 22-year-old Jin Chao Wei was an active-duty sailor on the USS Essex. He was arrested in August at the naval base in San Diego. Prosecutors say he has been selling military secrets to a Chinese intelligence officer, including classified manuals and photos of U.S. ships, in exchange for as much as $15,000. A trial date was set for December 3rd. After a brief hearing that happened yesterday. Well, the skies were clear enough last night in Southern California and Arizona for people to see this trail left behind by a SpaceX rocket. SpaceX launched another rocket from Vandenberg Air Force Base near Santa Barbara. This will carry satellites up into orbit. Really an incredible sight. We see this so often recently here, but it still is incredible to see every single time. Let's bring in meteorologist Mark Tamayo tracking conditions across the West. Good rocket viewing weather for right now.
Yeah, it's always a bonus, Alex, when you have those clouds clearing out, boosting the visibility. So, yeah, some great visuals there. Also, in the next hour or so, I'll be saying hello to a new season as you can see Earth in its elliptical path around the sun. And as we head into the 8 o'clock hour Pacific Daylight Time, we are saying hello to spring. So spring begins this evening. Tomorrow, of course, the first full day of spring. But it looks like we're still not talking about spring-like weather just yet for parts of the West Coast. We're talking about a return some rain showers. Now, the unsettled weather today was really focused in Arizona, as you can see out toward the Phoenix area. There's been a stubborn area of low pressure that has kind of been hanging out over the region, producing the rain showers. It will finally be on the move as we head into tomorrow. So as a result, shower chances, there's still about a 20% chance for Phoenix, but those chances will be coming down quite a bit over the next several days. This was the scene nearby Santa Monica today, where Los Angeles was a warm 73 degrees, some nice weather in Southern California. In the San Francisco Bay Area, San Francisco, we actually had a sun-cloud mix. Temperatures right around 60 degrees. And up in the Pacific Northwest, another beautiful day. It has been quite the stretch with the sunny days and some warm conditions, especially over the past few days, with temperatures up above the average. But it looks like the rain clouds will be approaching Seattle throughout the day tomorrow. Here is the satellite, the big picture. As you can see, lots of clear skies up and down the west coast for Portland, down towards San Francisco, down toward Los Angeles. We are tracking some changes offshore here. You can see a bit of a circulation here, and this could be a rainmaker by this time tomorrow up in the Seattle area. So here is the breakdown for tomorrow for your Wednesday. Mostly cloudy skies up in the Pacific Northwest. A sun-cloud mix for San Francisco, and there's about a 20 to 30% chance of some leftover showers for Phoenix and sunshine out toward Denver. But that next system is developing offshore. Several systems we'll be watching over the next several days. In fact, here is the forecast model. It's picking up on that system offshore here. Notice the possibility still of a few scattered showers in parts of Arizona for tomorrow. But as you can see up in Portland, up in Seattle, we're going to bring in some more clouds and some rain chances, especially by Wednesday late afternoon into Wednesday night. We'll begin to bump up the probability. And then it looks like several rainy days in the forecast for Thursday and into the coming weekend. So here is the plan, your 3-day forecast. Seattle, lots of clouds for tomorrow. For San Francisco, we'll have partly cloudy skies Wednesday and Thursday, and then rain chances will be going up by Friday. For Southern California, a fairly quiet weather pattern with the fog in the morning clearing out in the afternoon hours. And it looks like Phoenix could be warming back up into the upper 70s to the lower 80s. So, Alex, the first full day of spring, some areas welcoming back some rainfall. Other areas have a chance to clear out for tomorrow.
All right, exciting to have spring here.
Yeah.
All right, Mark, thank you. In Oregon, the parents of a baby born weighing less than 1 pound say they are looking forward to bringing their son home for the first time very soon. Fox 12's Paulina Aguilar spoke to the baby's mother about what he has overcome after being born 3 months premature.
His family is calling him their miracle baby. He remains here at Randall's Children's Hospital, and his mother tells me that they didn't expect him to survive, let alone go home. And now they're overjoyed.
What was supposed to be an exciting time for Madeline and her husband, Gabe.
We went into our anatomy scan thinking we were just going to find out the gender.
But instead, they received unexpected news. Teddy was diagnosed with intrauterine growth restriction, where the baby doesn't grow as expected inside the womb.
Turned out, we found out that he was incredibly small and very growth restricted. And we had a lot of placental issues, so he was losing blood flow fast. So the longer he stayed inside, the more dangerous it was. We were sort of given more of a death sentence for him than anything.
And in November, Teddy was delivered at 27 weeks, weighing just 14 ounces.
Smaller than my hand. Looking at him made it even scarier. He was just so fragile, so tiny, and so dependent on all of this equipment that I didn't understand yet. Hearing that we had less than 10% chance, it was just kind of like, I just wanted to skip those next few days, just wanted it to be over. They were watching his heart rate, and once it started just dipping constantly, then they were like, okay, cruising for a stillbirth, essentially.
With 2 other children at home, Madeline and Gabe leaned on each other.
My husband is amazing, and we just kind of tag teamed it. He would do night shift at the hospital, we'd switch, have breakfast together, I would take the day shift. Our little boy, Elliot, he's held Teddy. He always wants to hold him and kiss him.
After battling infections and pneumonia, things took a turn for the better on New Year's Day.
We did get a steroid shot, the betamethasone, so that's kind of what got they think that saved his life, essentially. And that's what got his lungs able to do anything, really.
Now Teddy is a step closer to going home.
Medically, at that point, he was off of the heavy-duty respiratory support. He just had a little nasal cannula. Just trying to build him back up to his full feeds, and he's still on respiratory support, so he does have chronic lung disease.
Teddy's journey into the world may have been a difficult one, but made for a happy ending.
The doctors, the nurses, the cleaning ladies have picked me up off the floor and held me and cried with me and prayed with me. Truly, I've blocked so much of it out. It was such a traumatic thing that we all went through. But it makes me emotional. Yeah, it's hard to reflect on. A lot of it I don't want to remember because it was so hard. But seeing him now, so worth it.
Madeline says that she hopes to take Teddy home by the end of the week. He will still have to be on oxygen for a little while, and they'll have to be careful when it comes to germs for the first 2 years of his life, but he's expected to make a full recovery and live a full and happy life.
Up next on West Coast Rap tonight, some of the biggest names in music joined with hundreds of hip-hop fans in Hollywood today. Tonight, see how they all came together to celebrate Dr. Dre. This was Dre Day in Hollywood. Fox 11's Laura Diaz shows us how hip-hop mogul Dr. Dre is getting the recognition many fans say is long overdue.
Hundreds of fans lined up early to get a glimpse of the legendary rapper-producer turned businessman.
Congratulations, today's Dre Day.
Dr. Dre on Hollywood Boulevard in Hollywood Tuesday morning.
I'm excited. This is Dre Day.
Tears of joy. You know, he's done so well for so many years, and he's a pillar in the black communities.
This is what brought them here. Dr. Dre getting his coveted star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame.
Please help me welcome Dr. Dre.
Radio host and friend Big Boy did the intro.
I'd like to thank the Hollywood Chamber of Commerce, who felt that I was finally ready to walk in the footsteps of Ice Cube, Snoop Dogg, 50 Cent, all of whom got stars before me for some reason.
The artist, who is from Compton, California, and was president of Death Row Records, burst onto the scene with world-class Wrecking Crew and later found fame with the gangster rap group NWA. He transformed rap. Songs like The Next Episode with Snoop Dogg were big hits.
It's the one and only D.R.E.
Bars from the stars, from the streets to the suites. Low riders hop once Dre beat drop. Forever in our hearts, now engraved on the Hollywood blocks.
Dre's crew showed up in a big way Tuesday. Snoop, Eminem, 50 Cent, as well as family and friends. Snoop's star is right next to Dre's. Police estimated that about 500 people showed up today for Dre Day. And as we listened to Dr. Dre up at the podium, he talked about the importance of following your passion.
Focus on your passion and the rest will follow, and that's exactly what it is for me. Pouring my whole soul and self into my passion for hip-hop led me on the pathway to an incredible career, and I've been fortunate enough to make a living doing exactly what I love to do.
And with that, a kid from the inner city streets of Compton became cemented in Hollywood lore. Andre Young, a.k.a. Dr. Dre, the newest star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame.
Dr. Dre, a true music icon. That does it for West Coast Rap. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you back here tomorrow night.